Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. OTAs kicked off Tuesday for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but for the first day, they had a few notable absences. That included TJ Watt, DK Metcalf, and Darius Slay. They're voluntary workouts, though, so it isn't a huge deal that those players weren't in attendance. Also, it's important to note that just because players missed the first day of OTAs doesn't mean that they aren't going to attend any of the sessions. Slay is a perfect example. According to ESPN's Brooke Pryor, despite missing the first day, Slay was in attendance for the Steelers' second OTA session. And he explained why. Because this is where you build, this is where it starts off, Slay said Wednesday via Pryor on Twitter. This is where championship football starts at. You want to be a champion. Some stuff you got to sacrifice. OTAs might not seem extremely important in the grand scheme of things, especially since they are voluntary. However, it's really the first opportunity for the entire new team to work together. It's the start of the bonding process, and it likely has more importance for new players like Slay. Slay is going into his 13th NFL season, so he's got a ton of experience under his belt. However, this is his first season with the Steelers, and while he's familiar with defensive coordinator Teryl Austin, it's important for him to get acclimated to a new environment. Also, Slay won a championship last year with the Philadelphia Eagles. Therefore, he knows what it takes to win the Super Bowl. If he's saying it starts here in OTAs, then there's probably some credence to that. Does that say anything negative about players who aren't there? No. Like Slay, they could eventually show up. There's also no telling what their reasons for missing OTAs are. If they miss all of OTAs, but show up for mandatory minicamp, then there probably won't be too much of an issue. We'll see if any of the other Steelers who have missed OTAs so far follow Slay's lead and eventually attend. The regular season is still months away, though, so there's plenty of time for everyone to show up and work. It would be nice to have everyone in attendance, but there are still 4 sessions left. Perhaps those remaining veterans will show up. After Ben Roethlisberger retired following the 2021 season, the Pittsburgh Steelers wasted little time trying to find their next franchise quarterback. The first real stab they took was drafting Kenny Pickett with the 20th overall pick in 2022. Things did not work out, to say the least. Pickett is now a member of the Browns, but he spent the 2024 season backing up Jalen Hurts for the Eagles. Speaking to the media at Browns' organized team activities, OTAs, on Wednesday, Pickett reflected on his time in Philadelphia. "I'm extremely grateful for my time in Philly," Pickett said via Browns beat writer Scott Petrick on X. "I think I just was shown how it's supposed to be done, really from the top down. When you get a chance to see what it's supposed to look like, and how it should look, on a day-to-day basis, not just on Sundays, I think it will pay dividends for me going into the future." It's hard to blame Kenny Pickett for feeling the way he does. He was on a Super Bowl winning team with the Eagles, who were dominant throughout the regular season and the playoffs. Although Pickett didn't make an impact in the playoffs, it's clear the Eagles were a well-run team throughout the 2024 season. Looking at it from the Steelers' perspective, though, it's hard not to interpret it as something of a shot at them. Pickett spent his first 2 years in Pittsburgh, and it wasn't pretty. During his time as a Steeler, Pickett played in 25 games, starting 24 of them. He completed 62.6% of his passes, for 4,474 yards, coming out to 179 per game. His touchdown-to-interception ratio wasn't impressive either, with 13 of each. Pickett was drafted too early in a weak quarterback class, and his numbers certainly reflect that. Not that it was all Pickett's fault. The offense as a whole, during his time in Pittsburgh, was young and unproven. There were some questions on the offensive line and, aside from George Pickens, not a lot for Pickett to work with. Pickett and Najee Harris were leaned on heavily, but all were young and unproven. That's something Harris spoke about as well, earlier this offseason. that's all in the past now, and both Kenny Pickett and the Steelers are looking to improve. Currently, Pickett is in a complicated quarterback room in Cleveland. He'll be fighting for playing time with rookies Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel, as well as Joe Flacco. Deshaun Watson is still on the roster as well, but due to injuries and bad play in general, he likely won't see the field much in 2025 if at all. If Pickett does end up the starter, his first chance at revenge will come in Week 6 when the Steelers host the Browns at Acrisure Stadium. In Week 17, Pittsburgh travels to Cleveland to complete the season series. ESPN insider Adam Schefter believes the Pittsburgh Steelers are at the mercy of Aaron Rodgers and would wait until Week 1 for him to sign. The Q&A session told me that it certainly seems like he's coming back to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who, by the way, continue to just wait and wait and wait, Schefter said on ESPN radio. It's amazing that a proud organization would be at the mercy of a player like this and just waiting for an answer from him. Schefter has routinely floated mandatory minicamp as Rodgers' decision date and continues to do so, saying he expects a decision within the next 2 weeks. However, with Rodgers, nothing is for sure, and he notably skipped the Jets' mandatory minicamp last year for a pre-planned trip to Egypt. Their first game is not until September 7th when they play the New York Jets, Schefter said. So I would say they're willing to wait until September 7th, for Rodgers. Of course, Rodgers will likely have decided whether to retire by then, which could pivot them to another option, but the Steelers seem content to give Rodgers space and wait. In his latest interview on the Joe Rogan Experience, Rodgers may have just revealed and hinted at the issues he hopes to resolve in his personal life. Rodgers said multiple people in his life are dealing with serious illnesses, including cancer. I figured it out during the last year when I've been in the weeds with these people who are close to me that have cancer, Rodgers said. That is taking a personal toll on Rodgers, who discussed non-conventional treatment options on the podcast. Still, he offered no certain timetable for a decision and seemed focused on his personal life first before anything else. Either way, Rodgers was the talk of the first OTA session, and he has still yet to sign a deal.